Alrighty, people, we are live on my Twitter and the Fireside Next YouTube, and in just a moment, we will be on the Fireside Next Instagram as well. Just want to go over a couple, orders of business. The Knicks obviously played last night against the Charlotte Hornets and saw their winning streak come to an end, losing that game 114 to 103. It was really not close. I mean, I wouldn't say it wasn't close, but they kind of struggled most of that night. What's up to everybody in the chat? I do appreciate everybody who is tuning in. But anyways, back to what I was saying about the game yesterday. I mean, they played it close, but the Hornets just outran them. They looked like the more energetic team really the entire night, and the Knicks had a really hard time rebounding the ball as well. It was one of their worst rebounding efforts, and I see people are asking about the Josh Hart thing, and I'm going to get to the Josh Hart thing, and that is part of why I am on this stream today to talk about that. But before I do get to the Josh Hart and Stephen A. Smith stuff, I want to talk about the game last night. Obviously, their win streak came to an end. That kind of stinks, but it is what it is. They had won 7 in a row. You can't expect them to win every single game all season long, but they still kind of are showing some of those same issues that were coming up before, with the slow starts and some of the sluggish other efforts and stuff. But you got to give a lot of credit to the Hornets. The Hornets have been playing really well lately. They've been one of the best teams in the league, really, for the past 2 months. And, they played the Knicks tough. They played them tough. And quite frankly, anybody who matches up with that team in the first round of the playoffs, if the Hornets, in fact, make it, is going to have a tough time. Now, if the Knicks are, say, to face them, because they very well could face them, do I think the Knicks will have, like, a ton of trouble? I mean, they should beat them. They should. I think the Knicks are a better team than the Hornets, but the Hornets are definitely a good team now. I definitely look at them much differently now than I did at the start of the year. And of course, last year, they play fast, they play energetic. Those guys can shoot really well as well. That's a good team. That is a good Hornets team, and you got to give them a lot of credit. They've beaten a lot of good teams this year. The Knicks aren't the only good team that they have beaten. They have, of course, beaten the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Detroit Pistons. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if they've beaten the Pistons, but the point is they've beaten a lot of good teams this year. They're playing really well. I know they've beaten the Spurs at one point this year. The Hornets have, so it happens. It's one of those nights. Sometimes it's just not your night. But one of the first other things I want to mention before I get to the Josh Hart stuff, just kind of basketball related stuff at first. Jose Alvarado. I think he's one of the biggest players that we need to discuss at this moment. I think really we're starting to kind of see some struggles with him. And I think it's more than just like a little bit of struggles. I think he's starting to kind of lose his rotation spot. Unfortunately, last night he only played 5 minutes. He didn't record a stat, and he lost all of his minutes to Tyler Kolek in the second half. Tyler Kolek played only 6 minutes in the second half, but Jose Alvarado played zero. Jose Alvarado did not see the court in the second half at all, and really, I don't understand what happened, because at the start when Jose Alvarado first came here, he was great. He was, actually shooting the ball. He was moving the ball well. He was, of course, providing that usual energy that we expected him to provide on the defensive side. But now he's not even really looking to shoot. And when he is looking to shoot, he's not scoring. He's only averaging 3 points per game in his last 10 games, and he's shooting only 36% from the floor. And he's only played 13 minutes per game in that same span. So not only is he not really doing anything when he is on the court, but he's not really on the court a whole lot anymore. And I think he's losing Mike Brown's trust a little bit. And I think it's now time to wonder, is he going to stay in the rotation when Deuce McBride comes back? Because Deuce McBride is very close to returning, as we all know by now. In fact, he could return for their next game on Sunday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, it's not guaranteed, but it's possible. And if he doesn't return then maybe we'll at least expect to see him by Friday of next week. That's what Ian Begley of SNY said. I know James L. Edwards of the Athletic said what I had just previously said about him possibly coming back on Sunday. But regardless, we know he's coming back soon. So who knows if Alvarado is going to remain in the rotation, not even just when Deuce McBride comes back, even right now. I mean, we saw Kolek come in there, so it's clear that Mike Brown is starting to look for a different player to kind of provide an impact and provide a spark. We saw that happen when Jordan Clarkson first re-entered the rotation. He brought him in because he was looking for a spark on offense, and what do you know? Jordan Clarkson has stayed in the rotation. And again, Kolek didn't do a whole ton yesterday in his minutes, but I can't chalk it up to only him. I mean, honestly, everybody outside of Brunson and Anunoby played pretty bad yesterday, so I can't really look at it that way. But what I can look at it as is Kolek going to become a more consistent player moving forward? Like, is he going to be getting minutes at least in the short term until McBride comes back? Because obviously McBride is going to take that backup guard spot and of course play the bulk of the minutes there. But right now they're still looking for answers because they're still fighting for that second seed. They still, of course, want to maintain the third seed. They could, if they would have won last night, they would have clinched a playoff spot. That could have definitely, kind of gotten the monkey off the back a little bit and kind of eased some tension a little bit. But they're going to make the playoffs one way or another. Their magic number is still one, and even if they don't win, let's say worst case scenario, they somehow don't win another game. I would like to imagine one of the teams below them will lose a game, and then that will therefore give them the clinched playoff spot. But that's besides the point. We know they're making the playoffs, so I'm not gonna, dread on that. But what I am gonna look at again is Alvarado going to be playing a whole lot, and I definitely think it's worth wondering now at this point. It's kind of a shame because we traded Gershon Yabusele for Alvarado, hoping that we would actually get some production out of a bench player because Yabusele wasn't giving us any production whatsoever, and Alvarado, to his credit, was giving us production when he first came here, but right now he's literally doing nothing. And if he's not going to do anything, you might as well play Kolek to see what you can get out of him, because what's really the point of letting Alvarado just kind of just run around in circles? So it's really tough. It's tough. And, again, guys, I see some people have been commenting and stuff, and I will get to the comments very soon. I'm not going to make this stream super long today. I'll keep it, hopefully within 45 minutes. That's kind of the ideal where I want it to be at. But anyways, moving on to the next point, and the point that a lot of people want to hear me provide my input on is, of course, the Stephen A. Smith and Josh Hart drama that has been unfolding over the last 2 days. So for those who aren't aware of what's been happening, I'll catch you guys up real quick. Josh Hart defended Mikal Bridges for the criticism that Bridges receives, which, Bridges does receive a lot of criticism, even from me. I'll act like I'm not going to pretend like I haven't, but he does. And Josh Hart, being what a good teammate does, defended him, saying that he receives a lot of unfair criticism and this, that, and the third. And then Stephen A. Smith went on to First Take, and he said that basically, in short, that Josh Hart needs to stay quiet and that he needs to shut up, and he should not be backing up his teammate like that, and he should only be talking about his play on the court. I personally did not like that comment from Stephen A. Smith, but it wasn't directed at me. And clearly Josh Hart did not like that comment either, because then Josh Hart followed that up by basically, in short, telling Stephen A. that maybe he should be quiet because Stephen A. is, quote, a part-time Knicks fan and is not doesn't really know what's going on with the team, doesn't know what half the players are. I know a lot of Knicks fans have very strong opinions about Stephen A. Smith, as do I. But moving on to what happened then today, because the drama continued today. Stephen A. Smith went on to his show, which is his own show by Sirius XM, called Stephen A. Smith Show. This was very early in the morning. He talked about the situation. He talked about it a little bit on First Take, but he provided a really interesting quote on his own show, which I'm going to pop up right now for you guys to show you guys exactly what he said. I posted this on the Instagram earlier, so you guys might have already seen it, but for those who haven't, basically, this is what he said. Quote, "First of all, you don't know who I know. Secondly, you don't know who talks to me. Thirdly, you don't even know how close I am to the people that cut your checks. Josh Hart, clearly you have not done your homework." That is what Stephen A. Smith's response was. It was a longer response. He talked for about 3 minutes on the subject, but that was the bulk and the most standout quote from what he had said regarding Josh Hart and that whole thing. And I think that's ridiculous to say personally. If you ask me personally, for my opinion on this situation, I don't think that's what Stephen A. should be saying at all. I think that is a pretty wild thing to say about any player. Nevertheless, Josh Hart, because I don't know why you're bringing up like that. Who cuts his checks? Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like tell Leon Rose, hey, don't pay Josh Hart because he disagrees with me? That's what I don't understand. So I don't really like this from Stephen A. I think this is a pretty bad look. I think he's already digging himself into a deeper hole. And granted, I know his job is to entertain people and to provide commentary. I know he's not like a analyst per se by any means, but Stephen A. Smith obviously has been very outspoken about this whole thing with Josh Hart, and it's just I just don't understand how this turned into this, because this really began because Josh Hart was simply doing what a good teammate is supposed to do and defended his teammate. And then now it's turned into, well, you should just be quiet because I don't agree with that. This, that, third. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's unnecessary drama. I think it's the wrong time for this kind of drama to come about as well because we're still in a playoff push. I'm going to take this quote off the screen for those who already read it. I know a lot of people already did at this point. But anyways, like I was saying, I think it's just a poorly timed situation to have something like this come about. The Knicks are obviously still fighting for a playoff push, and really, I think it's unnecessary from Stephen A. I mean, Josh Hart has the right to defend himself in this case because, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, in short, basically told him to be quiet, which really you should not be telling a player to be quiet. You're not, and that's not your place to say that. And really, I think it's just one of those things where, um, obviously, maybe the drama doesn't need to be fueled this far, but again, I'm not blaming Josh Hart here. He has the right to defend himself and his teammates and all that stuff. And Stephen A. Smith really shouldn't. I understand Stephen A. is allowed to have his own opinions too, but um, saying what he said today was a little outlandish. I think that's kind of ridiculous for anybody to say to any player. Nevertheless, a guy of Stephen A. Smith's notoriety and his caliber and stuff like that. And it's unprofessional at times when we see Stephen A. Smith kind of just go off the wall on the Knicks when one week he's saying the Knicks are going to win a title, and then the next week he's saying that the Knicks are cooked and that they're not going to make the playoffs, not going to make the finals, and all that stuff. And again, I'm not coming on here to bash Stephen A. Smith, but personally, I think it's just not exactly what we want out of Stephen A. to kind of provide for Knicks commentary here. We know Stephen A. is he claims to be a Knicks fan for his entire life. I'm not gonna completely question his fandom. I don't know him personally, but what I am going to say is that just it's not good. It's not a good look. It's really not. And again, it's not the first time he's done something like this. He obviously did the same thing or a similar thing. I'm not gonna say the same thing, but he did something similar with Bronny. And then LeBron, of course, did not like that. And LeBron, as a lot of us may know, a lot of us might not know, LeBron pressed him for it in person. He pressed Stephen A. for it. This was last season, I believe, when that happened. And again, players have the right to defend themselves, and of course, Stephen A. has the right to defend himself as well. I'm not going to act like he doesn't, but I think this is kind of an unnecessary feud that's being sparked by Stephen A. Smith here. I don't think that this drama, if you want to call it that, is really necessary. I think it's one of those things where it's just not necessary. It's not, again, and the timing too, as I mentioned before, just the timing is not right because we're trying to push for the playoffs. We don't want to have a bunch of distractions, and um right now, instead of Stephen A talking about the fact that the Knicks were on a 7-game win streak and that they have the number one defensive rating since January, a top 5 net rating, top 5 offensive rating, you name it. Instead of talking about that, it's oh, shut up, Josh Hart, you're not supposed to defend your teammates. So that's not, again, some creators come on, and a lot of people have their opinions about different creators. Some people say that too many creators can get negative over certain things even in the midst of winning and this, that, and the other. But a lot what we do here, I try to keep things real. Okay, I try to keep it as real as possible. Yes, sometimes I overreact a little bit. Sometimes I do go over the top, and sometimes maybe I say something that ends up biting me back the next game when they end up proving me wrong. Great. I like being proven wrong by this team, honestly. I like that. Especially if it's something that especially if it's like a take that I say is, in a quote unquote negative connotation. I like being proven wrong. I do. I would rather the team be successful than my agenda be right. So that's all I gotta say there. But as far as like things like with Stephen A goes, basically, in short, basically attacking the player for having his teammates back. I mean, it's just unprofessional, and it's not really what you want to see from it from a guy with such notoriety and a lot of popularity. Again, Stephen A thinks he has a lot. I guess he thinks he has more power than he really thinks he has. But again, what do I know? He obviously has power. He has influence, but he can't do anything about Josh Hart in this case. There's nothing he can do other than comment on what Josh Hart's doing, and of course, he has the right to do that, and that's what his job is to do, is to make commentary on it. But I just think that some of the things he said is not exactly the right thing to say. Um, Stephen A obviously says a lot of things that get a lot of attention. That's part of his job. That's part of what he's supposed to do. It's what he gets paid to do by ESPN. Um, but you know, I don't know. I don't like this situation at all. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's, just it's just much. It's too much at this time. We don't need that right now. We don't need that kind of energy, not just from anybody, but from Stephen A. Smith, who holds a lot of influence, as I just said. We don't need that kind of rift to be building right now when we're trying to gear up for the playoffs and stuff. And I know players and reporters and commentators, I know they go at it all the time. It's part of the business, but you know, it's just one of those things that I think is I hope does not cause a big distraction, because that's the last thing I want. Anyways, guys, I'm going to turn it over to the comments now on Instagram. I know some of you guys have been commenting, and I don't want to spend too much time just yapping about the Stephen A stuff, because I personally think it's a waste of time to talk about Stephen A. Smith. I think it's just such an unnecessary situation. And I do hope the stream quality is okay, guys. I try my best once again to make sure the stream quality comes out okay. If it lags here and there, I mean, there's nothing I can really do about it, but hopefully it stays clear as best as possible. And as long as you guys are able to hear me, that's fantastic. But anyways, I'm going to turn it over to some comments. A lot of you guys said hi and what's up. What's up to everybody in the chat. Someone just asked about the Josh Hart, Stephen A thing, and I just talked about it. Someone said about last night, it happens, just wasn't our game. Yeah, it's that simple. I mean, sometimes you just have it. It's a tough game from the start. Again, the Hornets play fast. They play relentless. They were desperate to win that game, especially after we beat them already twice this year. Yeah, it's a tough game. I'm not too upset about it. I wish they would have won. I thought they looked a little lackluster on the rebounds. They had one of their worst rebounding efforts in a minute. And I think the defense kind of took a step back as well. They gave up a lot of threes. I believe the Hornets made like 16 threes or something like that. And again, some of them, there's only so much they could have done. Some of them, they were just pulling them from uh, the tail end of the parking lot and making them. At that point, there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's just them being a great shooting team. They've been, again, and I've seen too, they have like the largest win differential in NBA history. Meaning, so whenever they win by the largest margin ever by any team, which is extremely impressive for a Hornets team that started off the year pretty bad. So, that's a really remarkable midseason turnaround. It's one of the best midseason turnarounds really I can remember. It's probably one of the best midseason turnarounds in league history. So, they deserve a lot of credit. I'm not gonna not credit them for that. Let's see what else we got here. Someone said Jose is in a slump. Yeah, he's in a really bad slump. I think this is it's definitely worrisome at this point, because before you could have just attributed to a couple bad games, but it's still happening, and his minutes are still inconsistent, and his play is still inconsistent, and I think his confidence is really down right now, and that's not good. Especially when we have a logjam of guards on the roster, the pressure is on for him to really step up and play at a high level. And right now, I think he's going to lose his rotation spot. I think at this point in time right now, like if Deuce McBride comes back on Sunday, I would not be surprised if Jose Alvarado plays no minutes. And if he plays any minutes, that it's in garbage time or it's just in like a 2-minute spurt. Now, granted, Jose Alvarado could easily turn it around in the playoffs, provide an impact then. He's a fiery guy. He's an energetic dude, so maybe he can turn it up in the postseason. But right now, the reality is he's not providing anything. I do see we got a comment on YouTube, and I'm going to pull it up right now so the viewers can also see. I can't pull up the comments on Instagram from the stream, which is unfortunate. I wish I could, but I just can't. But anyone who comments on YouTube and Twitter, I can pull it up on here. So, I will definitely do that. But anyways, this person said, speaking of threes, it's worthwhile to note that Brunson was 0 for 6 from 3. Yeah, I mean, he was. Brunson was good every other aspect. He was good in the mid-range and, of course, the twos, but the three-point shooting just fell off for most of the night, except for OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby had a nice shooting night, but, they were 11 of 29 from 3, which doesn't seem awful. It's actually 37%, so it's pretty decent, but it didn't feel that way, and given what I just said, too, OG basically made half of those. So I think a bigger issue too also was Karl Anthony Towns only playing 22 minutes and having 13 points. He was basically frozen out of the game by the Hornets' physicality, and he only attempted one 3-pointer. He did make it, but he only attempted 1 3. I think we want to see Towns attempt more threes because that's his strength or supposed strength. So need to get more threes up from him. Mikal Bridges went 2 of 5 from 3. It's not awful, no, but again, Bridges, once again had one of those like hot starts. He had 5 points in the first quarter, and he had 5 points in the fourth, but by then the game was over. So, I want to see Bridges actually do more in the second and third quarters to really keep momentum going and stuff like that. We're still on the baby steps phase with Bridges because that's now the third straight game in a row that he has scored exactly 14 points. To the person who tweeted that they're not going to tweet again until he scores 15, I really feel sorry for you. I really do. He has scored 14 and 3 in a row since that tweet came out. Um, it's like Mikhail saw it and is purposely doing it at this point. Obviously, he's not actually doing that, but it's pretty funny. I'm gonna put the overlay back on the screen for Twitter and YouTube viewers. I'm gonna go back to the Instagram now to look at more comments there. I'm gonna scroll down to more recent comments to see if there's any there. Um, just to get to that. If I miss any comments, I do apologize. Somebody said, "What's up, bro? What's up, man? I hope you're having a nice day. It's a nice Friday." If there's Yankee fans out there, the Yankees have their second game today. Mets fans, I saw that they won yesterday, so that's awesome for you guys. But I'm a Yankees fan, so go Yankees. Let's see what else we got here. Someone said, "Can the Knicks win the finals?" Just straight up asking. I mean, yeah, theoretically, but um, we got to see how they look as the season winds down. And as I have here on the overlay on screen, their next three games are against Oklahoma City, against Houston, and against Memphis. And those first two are going to be tough because they're on the road and against Western Conference powerhouses. Now, of course, the Knicks have already beaten the Rockets once this year, and they played a close nail biter against Oklahoma City. Both games were at the Garden, but being on the road is different. And the Knicks this year have been a much better team at home than on the road. So it's going to be a test. It's going to be a challenge. If they lose the game against Oklahoma City, I mean, I would like for them to win against Oklahoma City, but if they lose, I'm not gonna, write them off or anything. It's Oklahoma City. They're the best team in the NBA. They're getting healthier, and they're the reigning champs. I mean, it's always gonna be tough. But as far as if they can win the finals, I mean, absolutely. They just need to get clicking. They need contributions from basically everybody, and they need to be on the same page all around. I'm gonna take a water break, and then I'll ask the next. I'll look at the next question. Somebody asked, "Do you think the struggles are inconsistency due to new coaching, or is it a player issue?" Good question. I think it's both. And the reason I say it's both is because Mike Brown's rotations, of course, overall this year have been a little inconsistent. Sometimes I feel like he's still trying to understand his roster, which, I mean, it's his first year with the team. So like I have to cut him slack for that. But we also are in March. So I would expect him to kind of understand his roster by now. So if he's still having an issue with that, then that's an issue. But the players, they'll also need to do something. The players are definitely getting complacent at times, and Mike Brown has pointed out. Mitchell Robinson has also been very vocal about it lately, about the effort level and the energy. So I think really it's both. I think it's kind of just a collective issue right now that um, both sides need to work on together. I think the only way you can win a championship is if the players and the coaches are all on the same page. So until that happens, we're going to continue to see inconsistency. That's just the reality. Let's see what else we got. Somebody said losing to the Hornets. What does that mean? It doesn't mean much. They lost the game to the Hornets. The Hornets are a good team. It doesn't. I don't think it really changes the outlook of this Knicks team. I know a lot of people had a lot to say about the Knicks last night, but I think this is more. I think this is less about the Knicks being a troubled team and more about the Hornets being a good team. So I'm not going to look at this one too heavily right now. They won the first two against them this year. Granted, the Hornets were a different team those first two wins, but it is what it is. They had won 7 in a row before that. You can't expect them to win every single game. I would have liked for them to win that game, but just given the trends and given what the Hornets have been doing lately, I had a feeling they were gonna drop that game. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit to see what other comments. A lot of people were saying hi, so what's up? Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Someone said it boils down to the 3-point defense. Absolutely. Yep. They have to actually defend well. They have to defend at a high level. The 3-point defense improved a lot in February, and that's why they were winning so many games in February. But lately, they've had some lapses on the 3-point defense. Even in the games they've won, they've given up a lot of threes, a lot of open looks, and even if they don't make them, they're still giving up a lot of open looks, and you can't have that. You have to be able to, you know, You gotta defend the three better. You can't just leave shooters open, especially like a team like the Hornets, who um, have been one of the best overall teams on both ends of the floor since January, and have been and they have a bunch of young elite shooters like Brandon Miller, Nipple, LaMelo Ball. I mean, that team is energetic and fiery, and Kobe White being a spark plug off the bench for them is huge. So I'm not gonna act like they don't have a deep team. That is a good basketball team. Somebody said every team gets 10 wide open threes a game against us. It feels that way for sure. And that's the problem. We need to have more consistency on defense. They need to be more locked in on the perimeter. I feel like their lack of consistency there is problematic, and the fact that it continues that like one week they look really good defensively there, and the next week they don't is an issue. I need them to consistently be good defensively. And I think part of the problem, of course, is missing Deuce McBride. That's your best point of attack defender right there, or one of your best point of attack defenders at least. And he with him coming back soon, I'm hoping that the defense improves. That's really all I can ask for. Somebody said Alvarado was a non-contributor last night, not what we needed. Yeah, well said. I mean, it's really the last thing we want because, like I just said from before, we traded Gershon Yabusele, who wasn't playing at all and was not playing well whenever he did play, for Alvarado, and it seemed like such a significant upgrade. And while I still believe it is a significant upgrade, it's unfortunate that Alvarado is kind of phasing out of the rotation and he's not really providing a positive impact because I really spoke highly of Alvarado even before the trade. I thought he'd be a great fit. I still believe I still believe there's something there for him. It's just I don't really know if he's understanding his role. And again, I don't know if that's a Mike Brown thing or if that's just Alvarado still struggling to adapt to the new environment after being in New Orleans for so long. But it's definitely not ideal that he's struggling as bad as he is. And it's really been on both ends because we know he's not shooting the ball well, but even on defense, he's just fouling too much, like way too much. But yeah, I mean, again, hopefully Alvarado, improves. Hopefully he plays better. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed that he can get things going on offense, especially because the lack of scoring lately has been certainly an issue. I mean, he's averaging 3 points in 10 games. He's not really shooting well whatsoever, and it's a prolonged stretch now. This is no longer just like a handful of games. No, it's almost a month's worth of games where he's been struggling. So like you have your exceptions, of course. He was good against the Pacers. He was good against Philly that one game when he had 26. But other than that, he has not really done much offensively. Somebody said the overreaction to last night is terrible, unwarranted. Yeah, I don't think last night's loss really is a defining loss whatsoever. It's a loss. Sometimes it's not your night. The only thing I worry about really is I don't want bad habits to continue to spark. That 2-9 stretch really did damage to me because of that 2-9 stretch. Now I worry that one loss will start a trend of bad habits or they'll struggle to snap out of it. Because granted, the last 8 games they're 7-1, but they haven't been the most prettiest of games. So bad habits can linger, and that's what I really don't want to happen. That's the only concern I have. But do I think last night's loss means that they're not going to the finals or that they're going to definitely lose in a playoff series to the Hornets if they meet? No, I don't think that. I still believe if the Knicks and Hornets match up in a playoff series, that the Knicks will win that series. I firmly believe that too. So someone asked thoughts on Stephen A. Smith. Sorry if you answered already. I did answer it already. I talked about it, but basically, in short, just to answer for your sake, I just think it's a waste of time. I think it's super unnecessary from Stephen A. Smith, especially to go after Josh Hart like that. Josh Hart has the full right to defend himself. I commend him for it. He of course should be defending his teammate Mikal Bridges, which is what he was doing. That sparked the whole thing. So I just think it's unnecessary drama, and the only thing I don't want is for it to be a distraction to the task at hand, which is of course winning games and making the finals. So that's my short summary on Stephen A. But if you want to see my full take on the whole situation, feel free to go look on Twitter or YouTube for the replay of this stream because it'll once we're done with this stream, the replay will be up on there, and you will be able to see my full take on there. I talked about it pretty early in the stream, so shouldn't be too tough for you to see the full thing. Um, Let me take another water break and then I will answer the next questions. We got a good question here. This person asked, how many guys do you think Mike Brown will run off the bench in the playoffs, and name those guys? A great question. I really appreciate that question. So I think Mike Brown will run about like 3.5 to 4 guys off the bench in the playoffs. I think it'll be a different look than what Thibodeau did last year. Thibodeau basically didn't use his bench last year in the playoffs, with the exception of McBride and Robinson. I think it'll be different this time. I think we will see, of course, McBride and Robinson, but I think we will also see a bit of Jordan Clarkson and, of course, Landry Shamet. I think we will be seeing those two guys definitely getting some playoff minutes. Do I think they'll be getting a ton of playoff minutes? Not necessarily, but I do think they will see the floor. I don't think they will not be seeing the floor at all. Diawara, I'm still undecided if he's going to actually get minutes or not. I doubt it. I honestly, at this point, I kind of doubt he's going to get playoff minutes. Maybe he plays 2 minutes here and there, but nothing more than that. I don't expect him to even be playing 5 minutes in a playoff game. And Alvarado. I think Alvarado is the big question mark at the moment as to whether or not he's going to be getting playoff minutes. You ask me right now, I don't think he is. I just don't think he is. And that's not me saying I don't think he should. I just don't think he is. But I think Alvarado right now is struggling really bad, and I think that just given the amount of good guards they have on the roster, it just doesn't really make sense to play Alvarado a ton right now. So I actually don't think he's going to get minutes. So to answer that question in short, basically I believe we'll be seeing McBride, Robinson, Clarkson, and Shamet coming off the bench. Maybe one of Clarkson or Shamet doesn't play a whole ton, and that's okay. But I do think we will see them on the floor. I don't think we won't see them at all. I feel like in the first game of the playoffs, we'll see a slightly deeper rotation, just so Mike Brown can kind of see who can provide a spark in a playoff game. But then after that, I think the rotation is really going to shrink. So we'll see. We'll see. Mike Brown likes to surprise us quite a bit, so we never know. But that's what I think will happen at least. Someone said Knicks got out rebounded yesterday, which is shocking. Yeah, the rebounding effort was not good yesterday. That was one of their worst rebounding games in a very long time. They actually only had 24 rebounds, and the Hornets had 43, so they nearly doubled their rebound total. And the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns only had 3 rebounds and Mitchell Robinson had only 6 is alarming, because those two guys are your best rebounders. Those are your biggest threats. Obviously, Josh Hart had 7 rebounds, but Josh Hart was actually the leading rebounder now that I'm looking at it, which is that's stunning given that you have 2 centers on the floor. But the Hornets, again, that's a big team. That's an athletic team, a young team. They hustle. They shoot the ball really well. They play fast. That pace was relentless last night. So I bet you that pace tired out the Knicks a little bit and attributed to the lack of rebounding. So that's where you kind of just got to tip your cap to Charlotte. They play the game at a much different pace than they did at the start of the year, and they play with a much more energy than they did at the start of the year. So the Hornets deserve credit. That is a good basketball team in the making, and I think really if the Hornets, I don't think the Hornets are like a finals contender at the moment, but I think if they make the right moves, add some nice veteran pieces, maybe add more wing depth, that team can be like almost as good as how like the Pistons are this year. I really can see that happening. Just given how well that starting 5 plays together. I mean, it's not often you see a starting 5 play that well together that long, unless it's like literally the Golden State Warriors from like 2017 or like those 90s Bulls teams. So, and again, I'm not comparing the Hornets to those teams, no, but they are good. I think it's time we stop sleeping on the Hornets a little bit. They are a very good team. That's a very good team in the making. And it, again, like I said before, it's one of the most remarkable midseason turnarounds I've ever seen. It's probably one of the best midseason turnarounds in league history, but I've definitely never seen a midseason turnaround like this, because they were literally 16-28, more than halfway through the year, looking like they were on pace to be back in the lottery again, and then they just couldn't lose. So shout out to them. I mean, they deserve a lot of credit. That's why I'm not like too upset about this loss. I mean, the Hornets are a different team, and it's not just the Knicks that need to adjust to them. Every team needs to adjust to them. I don't think a lot of teams expected the Hornets to turn it around so quickly. So the Knicks obviously need to adjust, but every team needs to adjust. Every team has had their run in with the Hornets right now. So again, do I think this run will continue though for the Hornets in the playoffs? We'll see. It's an inexperienced playoff team, of course. None of those guys have really uh, gotten playoff time, but who knows? Maybe they will perform well in the playoffs, and we can't just assume they won't just because they're inexperienced. So, um, not overlooking this loss too heavily. It is what it is. I thought it was preventable. I definitely thought it was a preventable loss. I definitely thought it was a game they could have won, but it's tough when you're playing a team that's riding a really hot hand at the moment and that they're playing so well on both ends and you're on the road at that. It's tough to do. It's tough to win there. So you live with it, you move on, you make adjustments, and hopefully Sunday you bounce back against Oklahoma City because that's an even bigger test. So yeah. Someone said Hornets are a solid team. Yeah, absolutely. As I was just saying, they are a good team. That is not a bad team by any means anymore. I look at them completely differently now than I did at the start of the year, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Charles Lee is making a case for Coach of the Year. Do I think he'll win Coach of the Year? I don't know. It's probably going to end up going to Mark Daignault, but or even JB Bickerstaff. But either way, that the Hornets they deserve a lot of credit. They deserve a ton of credit. Just looking to see if there's any other comments on X and YouTube. I don't see any additional comments. Gonna go back to the Instagram to see what other comments we got. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to ask me anything or to leave your own take in the comment section, and I will provide some input on that. Someone asked if Cody Bellinger is going to go yard today in the Yankees game. I hope so. I would like to see that. I would love that. I don't even need to see that. I need to see Aaron Judge actually get a hit. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts in the first game. I mean, I know a lot of people were very much talking about that, but it's one game. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Yankees won that game 7-0 despite Aaron Judge playing that bad is an encouraging sign for Yankee fans. But enough baseball talk. We're here to talk about the New York Knicks. Someone said OG has been on a heater. Yeah, OG's been really good lately. He's been shooting the ball really well. I'm really impressed with that. I hope this continues into the playoffs as well. OG has a tendency to kind of really turn it up late in the season. He did this last year too when he was like literally the team's best player while Jalen Brunson was out last season. And right now he's been shooting the ball well. Yesterday he was 5-9 from 3. 3 balls coming back for him really good. That's very encouraging because he had that like month-long stretch where he couldn't buy a bucket from 3. But now his 3-point shot is back and he's making an impact. I'm really happy about that. Someone said Mitch needs to start. Cat at the 4, OG 3, Hart or Bridges 2, and Jalen Brunson. I've wanted Mitchell Robinson to start, but I understand at the same time why they haven't been doing it because there's like no center depth behind Mitchell Robinson after that. They quite literally have Ariel Hukporti and Trey Jemison, who are not very good players. They're fringe NBA talent at this point. And I don't think we're in a position where we can bank on those two guys to make an impact this far into the season and this late into the year. So, with that being said, I mean, do I want Mitch to start? Yeah, but I understand why they're not doing it. They want to have him as a backup just to kind of still be in that to prevent one of those third stringers from having to play a lot of minutes. So, I understand it. It is what it is. I think we're too late into the year now to really make a drastic change. Something I also want to point out to you guys too, and I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say about this. Who would you guys rather play in the playoffs? The Knicks could go from anywhere from the 2 or the 4 seed realistically, and I'm curious to know what you guys feel about who should be who the Knicks should, I guess, not target, but like who would you rather face? Because I don't think the Knicks should duck anybody. I think as a team that claims to be a finals contender, they should not be ducking anybody. They should be wanting to play the best of the best right away to prove something. But, obviously it doesn't always work that way. And I know fans have a preference as to who they want to play. And realistically, they play anybody from like Toronto, Miami, Orlando, anything like that. One of my IRL friends in the comments who is a Miami Heat fan said, I want to play anybody except Miami. Listen, I think the Knicks would absolutely smack the Heat in the playoff series. I think they would smack them. So I'm just being honest. I think the Heat are I don't think the Heat are a bad team, but I think the Knicks are way better than the Heat. I don't even know if the Knicks would even face the Heat, though. I think the Heat are on track to face the one-seeded Pistons at this point if they make the playoffs. Um, Somebody said I'd rather face Toronto or Atlanta. Yeah, I probably would too. I would probably rather face the Raptors or the Hawks. I think those would be. I think the Raptors especially are the I think the Raptors especially are the top target. I think that's like not target, but like that's like the team that would be best case scenario for the Knicks in the first round because the Knicks have owned the Raptors this year, and I think they match up really well with that team. So that's who I would rather face too. But I think whoever the Knicks face, they should be able to handle in round one because they're probably going to end up facing Boston in round two again. They're pretty much on a collision course for that. Somebody said going to Thunder versus Knicks on Sunday. That's awesome. I really hope you have a good time out there, and hopefully the Knicks win. Because anytime I go to Knicks games, they lose. So hopefully you bring good luck and not the bad luck that I tend to bring. But I do hope you enjoy the game nonetheless, regardless of the outcome. Someone in the comments said that they have been to 114 of the last 135 home games. Wow, that is some feat, considering that I have even yet to be to the Garden because I don't live in New York. I do want to go to the Garden though. I definitely do. That is definitely something I want to do. I'll probably answer a couple more questions and then we'll probably wrap this stream up. We're about 40 minutes in. I want to try to keep it no more than an hour, but definitely not too long. See, we have a handful of people watching on Instagram and of course on YouTube and X, and I really appreciate everybody that is tuning in. And I hope you leave a like, comment, and subscribe on all the platforms, and of course follow Fireside Knicks on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. We are everywhere. So if you don't already do that, please make sure to do that. Someone said I went to Knicks versus Nets game at the Barclays and had a great time. That's awesome. And if it was the game recently, then that was definitely a fun game. I mean, fun game in the sense the Knicks won. It was a pretty ugly game, but I mean, hey, a Knicks win, and plus just even going to games is a fun experience. Not everybody has the luxury of getting to go to a ton of games. I know I don't. So, you never want to. You always want to cherish those moments you get to go to games, regardless of the outcome. Because I went to 2 games this year when they played the Miami Heat and they lost both games, but both games were good. So objectively, those were fun. But of course, as a Knicks fan, I was mad that the Knicks lost both games. And the loyal followers here know that I was at both games, and they all told me to never go to games again. So I guess I really am a curse. I'll answer a couple more questions or respond to a few more comments, and then we'll wrap things up. Basically, though, in short, I mean, the Knicks still have, I believe, 8 games left on the schedule. They, are 1 win short of clinching a playoff spot. They're going to get it any day now. Once they get that playoff spot, they're pretty much guaranteed to be between 2 and 4. So they will have home court advantage in the first round, but I want them to be able to get a higher seed so they can also have home court advantage in the second round and beyond that too if they end up getting far. So I think them getting home court advantage is going to be very important. I think it's one of the more overlooked aspects of the whole playoff seeding thing. I feel like not as many people are mentioning it as I feel like they should. I think home court advantage for them this year is going to be super important. Super, super, super important. Just because of how much better they play at the Garden versus on the road. So I think they definitely need to get that home court advantage. Someone said I went to Knicks Magic game and they lost. That sucks. That sucks that they lost, but still hope you enjoyed that game nonetheless. Just going to take a look at YouTube and Twitter to see if there's any other comments. I don't see any extra comments. Going to go back to the Instagram. Again, feel free to leave any comments. I'll answer 2 more questions or reply to 2 more comments, something like whatever it is, and then we'll wrap things up here. Just wanted to come on here and talk about, just some things, and talk about the Knicks, of course, the game last night, of course, the Stephen A drama that I think is again super unnecessary and just such a waste of time. I think it's just pointless, but you know, it is what it is. It comes with the territory of this industry, and just some other things around the Knicks. I don't think last night's loss again is a super defining loss. It sucks that they lost the game, but I don't think it's super defining. Someone said thoughts on Raymond Felton and Alonzo Trier. Well, I guess your time machine broke or something, because I think you're stuck in in the past. No, I'm just playing. Those were the times. Those were the times when you had a lot of there's a lot of different Knicks legends, man. There's so many. I can't even look at it anymore, man. It's crazy how much the team has changed from 2012, 2018, 2015, whatever, any of those years in the 2010s. It's crazy how much the team has changed from then to now. I thought Alonzo Trier was going to be the next thing on the Knicks, but it just did not work out, unfortunately. But shout out Raymond Felton. we will always accept Raymond Felton shout outs here. Someone said Stephen A. Smith needs to be quiet. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna tell him to shut up, but I mean, I think the comments he's made have just been very unnecessary. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the way he's handled the situation, and you know, I just think it's just unnecessary. It's just not necessary. It really isn't. All this stuff could be avoided if this kind of drama could have been avoided if Stephen A did not insert himself into something that he was not directly involved in, because Josh Hart never directly talked to Stephen A Smith about the whole defending McHale thing. Like, he was not saying, "Oh, Stephen A Smith is criticizing Mikal Bridges too much." He didn't say that. He just said that the fans and the media alike are criticizing Mikal too much, or they're criticizing him unfairly. And I mean, to a degree, he's not wrong. And even for my sake, I think I've had my fair share of overly criticizing Mikal. But we know he can be better, and it's less about Mikal in this case, because we've talked about Mikal almost too much lately. We just gotta let things play out, because there's nothing that there's really nothing we can that we can do about it. Someone said thought Stephen A. Smith would be better than to just try to be divisive for views. It's just what Stephen A. does. He's gonna try to do what he can to get those clicks and get the attention, and it got him attention, and that's his job. His job at ESPN is to be a commentator, be an entertainer, less so than be an analyst. So, in theory, he's doing his job. Do I think it's ethical? No, I don't think attacking a player and telling a player he needs to shut up and he should only be talking if he's on the court is a very ethical statement, nor is that a very appropriate statement. But again, only so much that we can do about it. So I just think it's unnecessary. I think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the drama. I'm not a fan of anything that can cause a distraction at this point in the season, with roughly 3 weeks until the postseason and stuff like that. So it is what it is. Anyways, though, I do think we are at a place where I can wrap this stream up. I do appreciate everybody that has tuned in, and everybody that's left comments and interacted with me, because I really do enjoy doing that. And I'm definitely going to do more of these. And we will be back on here tomorrow. We will have Johnny back on the stream tomorrow. For those who have been wondering, it's been a while since Johnny has been in any videos or streams, but he will be back tomorrow, and we will both be back tomorrow to do another stream, talk more Knicks stuff, anything going on, and of course, previewing what's ahead for this group. They have a lot of big games coming up and a playoff spot to clinch. So Really looking forward to talking about that with you guys tomorrow. Don't know exactly what time we'll do it, but it'll be sometime in the afternoon for sure. And we will definitely do that. But anyways, make sure everybody leaves a like, comment, and subscribe on the video. If you're watching this on Twitter and YouTube, please make sure to follow Fireside Knicks on all of our platforms. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, every platform imaginable. You can also follow my Twitter. If you're on YouTube and Twitter, it's right there on the screen at Dylan Backer ESM. For those on Instagram, once again, it's at Dylan Backer ESM. That is my Twitter. Make sure you guys follow me on there. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks, everybody. Peace out. Let's go Knicks and have a good rest of your day.